At exactly 11:45 p.m. Washington time on October 27, 2025, the world stood still as U.S. President Donald Trump made a sudden and unplanned televised statement that jolted every major capital across the globe. Standing at the White House podium, Trump's voice was fierce, his tone unyielding as he declared that the United States would no longer tolerate Russian deception or covert interference in American affairs. The words echoed across the room like a thunderclap, igniting a chain reaction that sent global markets plunging and world leaders scrambling for emergency meetings. Within minutes, Russian President Vladimir Putin appeared live from the Kremlin, calling Trump's speech an act of deliberate provocation and warning that Russia will respond decisively to any American aggression. The air grew heavier as both nations' defense departments went into full alert. Analysts described it as the most dangerous verbal standoff since the Cold War. U.S. intelligence officials were seen entering the Pentagon just as European Union leaders called for calm. Social media platforms erupted with millions of posts, half cheering Trump's defiance, half fearing the beginning of a new crisis. No one expected that such a statement, delivered without warning, could shake the foundations of diplomacy overnight. America and Russia now stood face to face in a chilling new confrontation. Voice over script. This is breaking news from Washington, where President Donald Trump has delivered a midnight declaration that has sent shockwaves across the globe. His words were sharp, his warning unmistakable. Within minutes, President Vladimir Putin fired back, calling the statement a direct threat, and the world now holds its breath as tension between Washington and Moscow reaches a terrifying new peak. Within hours of Trump's late-night broadcast, the Kremlin released a fiery and uncompromising statement that escalated the crisis to unprecedented levels. Speaking from Moscow at 8 a.m. local time, President Vladimir Putin addressed the Russian Security Council and declared that the United States had crossed a red line that cannot be ignored. He accused Trump of trying to intimidate Russia through reckless threats, adding that Moscow will defend its sovereignty with every measure necessary. Russian state television broadcast footage of military convoys moving through the outskirts of Moscow, while strategic bombers were reportedly placed on standby at multiple airbases. Global reaction was immediate and alarmed. European leaders called for an emergency NATO consultation, and China issued a rare statement urging both nations to step back from the edge. In Washington, reporters noted heightened activity at the Pentagon and unconfirmed reports of urgent communications between U.S. and European defense chiefs. Intelligence experts warned that one misstep could lead to a full-scale geopolitical disaster. By morning, hashtags like #WorldOnEdge and #TrumpVSPutin dominated global social media trends. Ordinary citizens from Berlin to New York expressed disbelief that tensions had spiraled so far, so fast. Both leaders appeared determined to hold their ground, and the world watched helplessly as the situation grew darker by the hour. Voice over script. Across the world, alarms rang as Moscow answered Washington's challenge. President Vladimir Putin spoke with anger and precision, declaring that America had crossed a line that Russia will never allow. The footage of armored vehicles near Moscow shocked millions. NATO rushed into emergency talks, and the planet now braces for what could become the most dangerous power confrontation of the century. By midday in Washington, October 27, 2025, the White House had transformed into a command center under intense global scrutiny. Reporters crowded the press hall, desperate for clarity, while advisors rushed in and out of closed-door meetings. Instead of softening his tone, President Donald Trump delivered yet another stunning address, declaring that America will not bow to intimidation from Moscow. His words sent an unmistakable message: the U.S. would respond with strength, not compromise. Trump announced new sanctions targeting Russian state assets and energy exports, calling them a necessary step to protect American sovereignty. As he spoke, the Dow Jones plummeted nearly 2,000 points in just minutes. Across Europe, leaders expressed alarm at the speed of escalation. In Moscow, Putin reportedly convened an urgent meeting with military chiefs, accusing Washington of economic warfare and vowing unpredictable consequences. Meanwhile, social media platforms turned into virtual battlefields of opinion, with millions demanding restraint while others called for retaliation. Television anchors described the mood in Washington as controlled chaos. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged dialogue, but insiders claimed Trump's team was divided, some fearing the president's boldness could ignite a confrontation neither side could control. As night approached, the question on every screen was the same: has the world just stepped into a new Cold War?